Well, okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Randy Baxter. I'm the president of Asset Positioning Services, and we're going to talk about a story today that I think you need to be aware of. So the topic is called "Success Stories You Can Build On." And if you got a piece of paper, not that's fine, but you can also pick up this information on the ebook called "Approach, Plan, Succeed." Um, and if you decide you want a hard copy, let me know, and I'll send you one. But this is the exact story that I live. This is the exact story that I teach, and I just want you to be aware of it. So, um, real quick, because I don't know where you are. Some of you are just starting. Some of you are starting to grow a little bit. Um, but there's four types of digital estate planning companies that you can build from where you are right now. And I write about them in my book, Approach, Plan, Succeed. So we're going to talk about all four types. I remember when I was type one. I think I'm type four now. But we're going to look at it. You can be a solo planner, and we've talked about that, about identifying your avatar and developing your names and approaching each individual and presenting the go-to first interview and preparing the documents and setting the stage for the back end sale, making the sale and transferring funds and delivering the proper funding products and acquiring application for referrals. You know, an individual digital estate planner has to do all those jobs. And it's work. And sometimes I run into people that don't want to work that hard in any given week, but they're willing to do those same tasks in a given month. And some people are willing to do those same tasks in a given quarter. It just all depends on you. But these are the tasks that you have to do if you're going to do family estate docs on your own. So, I'm going to talk about week one if you're going to be a solo estate planner. Week one will only require a few hours. And my battery's getting low. Can you get me a charger? Hold on a second. I got to recharge my battery a second. I think it's in my briefcase. Or okay. No, that's not the same one. Hold on, folks. I'm going to have to recharge my battery a second. Okay. Okay. I've got the doctor coming. Okay, so in week one, if you're going to be a solo estate planner, you have to design your avatar. You have to, because you have to decide who it is you want to talk to. And if you're not designing your avatar, you're just taking shots in the dark. But then you have to put a name onto that avatar. An avatar is an imaginary being, but once you put a name on it, they become a persona. And and you can do it from your current clients. I read an article this morning that I was really surprised at, and I just want you all to be aware of what I'm about to say to you. The average person knows about 600 people. Now, I don't care if you say you don't have any clients or not, you still know about 600 people. And to be honest with you, that tells me that 300 of them don't even have an estate plan at all. And the other 300 have a will or a trust. And about 80% of those 300, 240 of them don't know exactly what they've got or don't understand it. So those of you who are telling me, hey, I don't have a market, I'm just going to go, yeah, you do. Okay. But so you have to make your approach to the best 10 of those people using the cycle of success, which we try to teach, and scheduling your first go-to appointments. And that's in the first week. If you haven't gotten started yet, that takes about 10 or 12 hours of thought and mindset development. And I've talked to you a lot about mindset. Mindset's important. But if you're a solo planner, the second week, you're going to add another 6 or 9 hours for appointments, if you made any. And have your agenda ready, your confidential ready, know your script, use the power phrases, and close the front end. You don't have to worry about product yet. as soon as you close that front end, call me. I'll help you with product. I'll introduce you to people. I'll show you what to do. We'll talk about it. Just have your, just follow the system. Have the family tree drawn. Have the conversation that I ask you to have. Have the health questions answered. Because if you have those health questions answered, you're going to make money. But anyway, now if you're a single planner, you now have about a 20-hour week. Now, some of you, some people work more than 20 hours a week. Some people work 40 hours a week. Some people don't know when to quit.
Mhm.
But
His name is Randall.
yeah. But anyway, week 3, you prepare your first estate plans using what I call the Godiva delivery system. And that means that you have to have your notebooks ready, and you want to make a first class delivery, because it's the first class delivery that helps you set the stage for the back end sale. But in week 3, you have to repeat the steps of week 1 and 2. You can't stop doing week 1 and 2 and when you get to week 3. So, you have to have it on your calendar, and you have to know what you're doing, and you have to know what your plan is. And you always have to be looking for names to put on your avatar, always. So then week 4 comes along. You're a single estate planner. You don't have any help. Now you have to prepare your documents for presentation, and you're now working about 25 to 30 hours per week. Now, some of you already have jobs. Some of you already have products that you try to sell. If you're going to grow, you don't have to do 25 to 30 weeks, but if you'll follow the process that I'm teaching you, that's what you'll wind up doing, is you'll be putting about 30 hours a week in week 4. Now, so here we come into month 2. And all I'm going to say to you is repeat week 4 for a few weeks until you decide to grow into phase 2. Because it's like an athlete. You have to get in shape for what you're going to do. So repeat the process a couple of times. You don't have to get rich in the first 8 weeks. Show you how to get rich in the first 16 weeks. But anyway, so all of a sudden, if you're not careful, if you do it right, this means you're probably working about 156 hours a month, which is, 39 hours a week? And about 5 hours per prospect. 2 hours max for each go-to first interview. I misspelled each. That's left the A out. I'm sorry. 1 hour for each signing ceremony. 1 to 2 hours for each funding interview. And 1 hour a week for planning. It doesn't, once you get your system down, you don't have to do a lot of planning. You just have to put it in your calendar and be sure that you get it done. I just want to make a remark there. I'll talk product with you at any time, but it doesn't do me any good to talk product with you if you don't have people to talk to, and if you don't have somebody that fits that product. A lot of times people come up to me and say, I've got a client with a problem, and they don't have any other suspects or prospects going on, and it's the odds are you're not going to make the sale, and if you haven't done it right. So plus you're going to have to make time gathering information for drafts and reviewing and printing and binding and making an asset spreadsheet. That's a lot of work. So my question for you is, and I think you ought to, if you're going to be that single estate planner, plan on being out of that stage in 2 months. And so the question is, are you ready for stage 2? So stage 2 is learn to outsource your document building research. If you use the proper power phrase, I have some ideas, but I need to do some research and run some numbers. Would you like to see those numbers? That's where you want to be, not hole punching, not loading up notebooks. So if you're ready for phase 2, you may have an assistant, or use the services of your current IMO, and that's YOUR. Okay, I owe you A and R so far. The services of your current IMO if they have the capabilities. A lot of you have IMOs that don't give you good support, or they want you to sell one particular product. And that's okay. That's what you want. But that means printing estate plans and ordering the right product information. You might want to spend your time doing things like that instead of the other work. So, you know, and I've said this to you before, you need to learn to separate income producing activities from non-income producing activities. And we'll say it again. Learn to separate income producing activities from non-income producing activities. That's where you draw the line. That's where you want an assistant. So, if you're going to identify 20, 25-hour work and separate it from the $250 to $300 per hour work, then your goal should be that you're going to make about $20,000 per month in income. Now, I've shown you, I've done whole classes on how to make $20,000 per month. All you have to do is follow the yellow brick road, the one I line out for you, and show you what to do. And to make $20,000 a month, it's just 4 front-end sales, and that should make you about $5,000 minimum. And 1 average back-end sale, which ought to make you $15,000. My average sale is a $250,000 indexed income annuity contract. And that's someone who wants to lock in a guaranteed $1,000 a month income in addition to their Social Security. Of course, they have to have the money. And that's part of identifying your avatar. You don't want to identify an avatar that doesn't have any money, because they're going to want that product real bad. I had one client come in and sit in the office with me one day, and she had just married her husband, and they came in for a review, and I reviewed his annuities, and he had about $300,000 in annuity contracts. And I looked at her and I said, what have you got? And she looked at me and she said, I don't have any of it. That's why I married him. He's sicker than me, and I'm going to get that.
Oh, wow.
And he said, I want her to have it. I love her. Oh. Okay. But she just wanted to learn what it is. Okay. Now he was a little closer to the cliff. So anyway, after you get to stage 2, and stage 2 is you have an assistant that helps you get the day-to-day task out of the way, so you can spend your time doing the research that you need to do, running the numbers you need to do, and servicing your client. But stage 3, once you have your assistant trained, and that's going to take about a month, okay, and your assistant is handling all document drafts, software use, and building notebooks. Once you get that done, you're ready for stage 4, which means you're adding licensees, teaching them to function in your system, and asking them to emulate and not innovate the process I teach you, called the cycle of success. When I first read that years ago, I looked at it and I went, gosh, I'm never going to get there. And well, here I am. We've got licensees all over the country trying to do what we're doing, and I'm very proud of that, and I want to teach you what you need to know to make that happen. And sometimes you have to tell me what's missing. You have to tell me. Sometimes I can tell you what's missing just in a conversation with you. But anyway, listen to this. This is serious. You have to decide what success means to you. It could be $10,000 a month and stop. It could be $30,000, $40,000 a month. It could be the sky's the limit. But you have to decide what success means. So this is what I think it should mean. That's just me, okay? And you decide on the volume of business you can handle. So I'm about to tell you what I think it means. And we'll show you how to get there in a way that maybe no one's talked to you about it. Okay, but we need to have a checkoff list. Oh no, I didn't mean that print to be that little. Wonder what that says. Okay, it says
learn to use the agenda.
Yeah, okay. You need to learn to use the agenda. If you're not using the agenda, you're going to bat with a broken bat. Learn to use their confidential. It will guide you through the presentation that they want to have, and they've always wanted to have, but they've never known anybody that could do it that well. And you don't have to memorize it. If you follow the agenda and the confidential, you could lay them on top of each other and they fit. And then you need to learn the sales script. The sales script applies to the confidential and the agenda. And then the power phrases. Because, I'm going to be a better advisor if I understand your current health situation. Do you care if I ask you some health questions? And when I do that, then the next power phrase I might look at, if dad's got a bad health and mom's a little healthier, I might look at you and say, hey, dad, you're a little closer to the cliff than mom is, aren't you? And then what that does is it breaks the mindset down so that when they go home and have their pillow talk, that's what they're going to talk about. Honey, I might be in a worse spot than you if you get sicker than you are, and we spend all of our money taking care of you. What am I going to have when you're gone? So that's the conversation that usually the healthier spouse wants to have. I know you've heard it 100 times, but if you'll just learn the cycle of success and follow the steps that we teach there, you'll start out with 10, I'm going to say 10 weak cases or 10 cases that you could have sold that you missed because you didn't learn everything or didn't study hard enough. But then week 2, you're going to have a stronger presentation. You're going to have a stronger avatar list. Everything that you're going to do is going to be stronger. And by the time if you move your people from avatar to persona to suspect to prospect, and again, that's the hardest part, the conversion of suspect to prospect. Downhill after that. Because after your prospect, if you do the presentation right, you're going to get your share of clients. And then they're going to refer to you. It gets a little easier after you do it right. So anyway, this is what I'm going to say to you. If you're with us and you haven't made your first sale yet, don't be acting like you need to make $25,000 or $30,000. Act like you need to make your first sale. And people when they talk to me and they go on and on and on and on, and I look at them, I go, well, let's see your plan to make your first sale. There's not one. And if there's not one, then I'll show you how to do it, but I can't make you do it. But learn to put yourself in a position to make your first sale. After that, plan to get your next one. Don't worry about anything else, but if you make your first sale, let's figure out where we're going to get the next one. Because it's easier for me to work with you on that basis. And it's easier for me to learn what you need to know. And it's easier for you to be successful if you're not blaming yourself for not functioning on the level that some of your teachers are. Once you get to the level that your teachers are at, the teachers disappear because they fulfilled their purpose, and you'll be looking for new teachers. Mm-hmm. So, make your first sale, then plan for your next sale. And then you gradually increase the tempo by repeating the steps in the cycle of success. If you're making one sale a month, find out what it is that you did that you made that one sale, and repeat that. Just repeat that behavior a couple of times, and then you'll start making 2 or 3 sales a month. But so make your first sale, figure out how you're going to make your next one, then start increasing the tempo by repeating the steps in the cycle of success. After you get the tempo going, then as you get better and you train your assistant, you will learn to build momentum just like a freight train. Freight trains start out slow and they go chug, chug, chug. Then they go chug, 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 and then they're running down the track going chug, 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 chug. Build your momentum, but build it right by creating the right habits. Be careful, don't let your habits get so good that you go home and crash in the evening. Try to save a little energy for the day. But you have to decide on a comfortable income and how fast you want to grow. I can't do that for you. And it's going to depend on what you need. If you're just looking to supplement what you got, then that's the tempo. That's where you want to be. But if you're looking to have a higher income, first sale, next sale, tempo, momentum. Make your first 5,000 by selling the front end. I know somebody that's going to make $5,000 in their first month easily. By making 3 or 4 sales on the front end. And you know what? They implemented and inserted the correct program to do that. We went from 1-to-1 with that particular person to 1-to-many. And then all of a sudden we had 3 to 5 sales in the first month. If I was telling you to do something that didn't work, you wouldn't be here. If I'm telling you something that works and you don't do it, that's on you. It's not on me. So the next thing is make that income consistent with 1 front end sale per week. If you're not doing 1 front end sale per week, you're probably not following the program and you probably don't want to. You're fooling yourself or you're fooling me when you say I want to, and you've been here for 12, 15, 20 weeks and you're not averaging 1 sale a week. I have to make the assumption you really don't want to. Because when you tell me you don't know anybody, I told you what I said earlier when I read in the magazine. All of us know at least 600 people. So it's hard for me to accept somebody that says I don't have anybody to talk to. I want to turn that around and say, well, no, that's not true. You just don't want to talk to them. So people want you to talk to them. Now you got to do say the right sentence. Hey, I think you'd benefit from a conversation about your current estate plan. That's the only sentence you need to worry about. You're not worrying about what you want to sell them. You just want to talk to them about their current estate plan. That's where you make your sale. The back end sales will come. But only if you do a proper diagnosis of the issues of the family. When I find out that they don't have a will or a trust, that's one of the first diagnoses. The other one is, what if I find out that they have a real estate issue where they want to pass it from generation to generation, or they've got 6 or 7 pieces of property. And then what if they have 6 or 7 pieces of property and not a lot of money, or maybe a farm and not a lot of money, and really haven't dealt with the fact that they may lose that asset if one of them gets sick and all their assets are drained because of that illness. It's listening to what they have to say, following the confidential in the agenda, that will allow you to make the proper diagnosis. And if you make the proper diagnosis, the person you're talking to cannot disagree. I looked at somebody the other day and they were giving me feedback. I looked at them and I said, you know what? These aren't my numbers. They're yours. These are the numbers you gave me. And for the numbers you gave me, this is the diagnosis. Are these numbers wrong? And they said no. And I said, well, then that's the proper diagnosis. You don't want me to tell you something that doesn't make sense or is not true, do you? So, you've already, think about this. If you follow the presentation correctly, you have already introduced the need for long-term care planning. they've already told you what the current plan is. A lot of them look at you and say, no, I haven't made any plans for that. And if you try to sell them something right then, that's a mistake, because you want that to sink in. You want their plan, that the fact that their plan is not what they really want. You need to let that sink in a little bit. That's why you say, well, we'll come back to that. Because you're going to tie it in. You're going to tie it in with uh, uh, by discussing their income that's not based on assets, and the income based on assets. You know, if you skip that step, it's because you don't want to make any money. And you don't want to help those people with a problem that they have. Or you're lazy. Or you don't follow the script and you get distracted. Don't get distracted. Follow the script. Stay on course. That's how you maintain tempo. That's how you build momentum. You know, in the conversation, you have discussed the status of assets as being sure things or maybes. You know, if mom and dad are sitting there talking and mom looks at dad and says, Dad, you've been in charge and you've planned our whole life based on maybes that don't fit the math formula that I want if you die before me, and the questions you answer, there's a real good chance you will. Why would you do that to me? You don't say that to them. You just let them come to that conclusion. That's called pillow talk. Let them have that conversation. It's not evil. It's very profitable, and they will thank you the whole way because you have allowed them to have a conversation they didn't know how to have. I hope that makes sense. You know, and remember, in the conversation, you've already discussed gaps and cliffs. And they've not even considered gaps and cliffs. They haven't had the conversation. And you'll be surprised how many people know that it's there and ignore the conversation because they don't know how to have it, or they just don't want to talk about it. And all of a sudden, because you think they're going to benefit from a conversation with you about their current estate plan because they're going to learn something they were not aware of, that's the benefit. That's their benefit for talking to you. Awareness, the search for answers, the elimination process from all possible answers to select the best possible answer. They'll do business with you if you guide them through that. You know, so you know, when you have reviewed their current health status, you know who's closer to the cliff. Now, you know, all I'm saying to you, if you're going to go stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, you want to be in stage 4, you want to be having an increased number of this conversation. If you're only having one conversation a month like that, it's going to probably take you 10 cases. To get one conversation like that means anything, you probably have to make 3 to 5 front-end sales. Because some people will buy the estate plan and not have a lot of assets. Some people buy the estate plan thinking they have a lot of assets, and if you get good at this, you're going to see that the volume or the amount of assets that people have goes up because you're going to be better at selecting your avatar. Some people think $100,000 is a lot of money. Some people don't. Some people worked all their lives for $100,000. Some people make that much over a 60-day period if they want to. So, you know, if you've reviewed the ballpark status of their assets, if they've given you the ballpark status of their assets, they trust you. They know that you're leading them through a conversation that they need to have. And the reason I say ballpark is you want to reassure them that you don't, that they have the option of giving you those answers or not. If they don't, you don't have as good a prospect. If they do, They trust you. They're they're waiting on your diagnosis. They don't even know they're going to get one yet. So, uh, if you follow my sales presentation, you're going to congratulate them on a job well done. It might be a better job than you did. It may not be. Maybe it matters. Maybe it doesn't. But it's time that you ask them, "Hey, you've done a good job. Don't you think you ought to get your paperwork in order?" How can they say no? If they cross their arms and sit back and say, "Well, I don't know," uh, that's where I look at. If I've got one of them saying, "I don't know," I look and say, "Don't tell me, tell her. Don't tell me, tell him."
Mhm.
It's not, we did that the other day, and I think we're going to get a nice case out of it because he was being belligerent until she looked at him and said, "This is what I want," and he said, "Okay." But he was trying to resist the really good professional salesman he was in front of. And he couldn't because I turned it on him and I said, "You don't have to tell me that, tell her." And if if she was going to let him not walk out there with what she wanted, it's not my fault. So once they purchase, it's time to say, you just listen to what I teach you to say. Once they purchase the estate plan, now that we've talked, I have some ideas to share when we come in for the signing ceremony. I need to do some research and run some numbers. When you come in, would you like to see your numbers? About an hour ago, I had the leader of a group of salespeople in Arizona. And guess what he said? He said, "Randy, will you say that slow so we can all write it down?" And he's looking to improve his sales. He only sold $90 million in annuities last year. And he was looking for a sentence that he can use to increase his sales. One front end sale per week, one, should lead to one front end sale and per week and one or two back end sales per week or per month. It just depends on how good you are. But the thing is, if you're going to build a business in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, if you're starting to make one sale per week, you're going to need help. You can't do all the work. And it's time to grow. It's time to let somebody else do some of that work. It'll probably change their lives too. Yeah, hopefully it will if you make the right selection, and they'll grow out of that. Important thing is that everybody you pick needs to grow out of the spot you pick them for. And they'll do it when they're ready. Look at that little print again. Okay. So the rest is up to you. You decide on your tempo. You have to hit tempo before you build momentum. You have to do tempo first. You have to say, "Hey, that was successful on my first sale. I'm going to do the same thing to make my next sale. I'm going to do the same thing to make my next sale. I'm going to increase the time. I'm going to decrease the time between sales by increasing the number of times I do what worked." And don't worry about what doesn't work. I was sitting in the office yesterday and I called somebody I thought for sure was going to buy, and all my staff was sitting around, and I called them and I asked them to buy, and they said no. And you know what? I just let it run off my back like water on a duck's back and moved on, because I know that the next sale this morning, somebody brought me a little over $200,000 in. It's just because we had momentum. Momentum, it can tear you up if you don't handle it right. So knowing all that, I would just like to, does anybody have any questions out there about what we're talking about? I hope you do. But Lisa, does anybody out there that's got any questions?
Yes, Randall. Susan has a question in the chat. She said, I have a question on the process as we start the filling out the link.
I'm sorry, say that again. Your
Uh,
voice is coming in so soft, it's hard for me to hear. So I had to put my ear up against my computer.
okay. She has her question, Susan's
Oh, wait a
question.
minute. Hey, everybody, did you know there's a button on your computer to increase the volume on? There's something you can learn today. Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
So the process as we start filling out the link, I think in the
Okay.
software.
Okay.
Uh, so she has a question on the process as we start filling out the link. I think, how do we do it?
Okay. All right. So Susan, you go to familyestatedocs.com and put in your login and your password, and it'll bring you to your website. And then click on sales, and you get four drop downs. And the top drop down is sales. When you click on it, it takes you to the landing page where you put in the customer's name and address and their credit card number. And once you get it all filled out, punch whatever the button says, send or go to or whatever it is, and it'll go in and charge their credit card. And if it accepts their credit card, they have just bought their own estate plan, and it'll take you straight to the next step, which is the interview. And when you go to the interview, all you have to do now, you can also do the interview on paper. If you go on the same website, you got sales, marketing, forms. Click on forms, and you can print off the exact same interview on paper. And I don't care to tell you, I've done a lot. The majority of my sales I've done on paper first. I don't try to do it the software in front of them. Some people are so high tech they do it real quick. It's okay, right? But you have to use that sales button, and it'll take you to the landing page. Fill it out, and if you sell them using the paper form, be sure and get that credit card form signed saying that they give you permission to charge their credit card. There's another form there that says they give you permission to enter their information in the software. But once you get it mastered, and it took me longer than I'm willing to admit um, to use the software. I was just such a paper nut and so archaic and so uh, out of date that I liked using the paper until I learned how to do the software. Once I learned the software, I was good. I can go in and pull it up, and but I like to do it without them looking at me for a little while. I don't want to fumble through it, so that's why I like to use the paper. I don't know if I'm answering your question, Susan. Would you like to ask another piece of it, or
Yeah.
that answer your question?
Now, the problem, like if they go in and click on it and buy it through their land, and
Okay.
they will have they'll have access to the whole thing, and they can actually input all the information if they want. The thing is they could also complete it on their own as well, right?
Yes,
I-
yes,
I'm
ma'am.
I'm just trying to figure out how you control it on your end if you want to be able to print it out and do the delivery
Okay,
with them
okay,
doing that other,
okay,
how do you make that?
okay. So when you make a sale, you're going to get an email. If you send them a link on the free trial and they make a purchase, you're going to get an email that tells you what their login is. It'll also tell you what their uh, password is, but you need to get them to change that password. So if you see that they made a sale, um, uh, if you have not done the family tree presentation, do it right then. Call them up and say, I could probably help you. There's a couple of questions I need to ask. I need to understand your family dynamics. Will that be okay? And go into the sales presentation. It'll help them pick those people. If they can use their login and their password, and you can use their login and password at the same time, and you can both be on that web page together.
But if they change the password, you won't know what their password is. You won't be able to access their document, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And Susan, that's they're going to want you to help. If they don't want to tell you their password, they don't need your help. But I would say that if there were 100 people, 99 of them are going to want your help. So here's what I do. I like to say, why don't we start out with your password being the numbers in your street address and the first word in the street you live on. That way I can get in and help you and make adjustments for you on the phone. Will that be okay? And they'll have to change their password. So when they put in their login, they can either put in their password or they can click the button that says change the password. And get them to change the password that both of you know, and then say, once we get finished, you can change your password to anything you want. Right now, I'm going to be of more value to you if I can help you through this process. It doesn't cost you anything. You've already paid your fee. And I'm just here to help. And I think you'll find that the majority of people agree to that right then.
Yeah, that sounds good. That way you can say, okay, we're gonna get back. I want to be able to show you your numbers.
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and print this out for you, or if we're gonna deliver them a binder or what have
Right.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Right.
what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And just remember, secretly, they really want you to help. They do.
Sure.
Now if somebody just buys it and says, don't help me, they're probably not going to be a fun client anyway. You don't need them.
Would you have
That's just,
people who do the signing, like you've mentioned, have like a celebration, a signing party? But then if you're trying to show them their numbers, how would you coordinate that?
well, I get them to agree to want to see their numbers before they come into the signing party. So that in the sales presentation, I'll go, hey, now that you've got this done in our conversation, I have some ideas for you. But before we talk about it, I need to do some research and I need to run some numbers. What I'm really saying is I need to call Mike Bemis and tell him what I've got.
Right?
And
Yeah,
then Mike will help me.
right.
Okay. Uh, and you got to remember the information I give Mike, the better information I give him, the better illustrations I
Yeah.
get.
Yeah,
And
I like
and
working with Mike.
right. So but you also got to remember that if you work with them properly and use the sales presentation, you're going to make a diagnosis that they know is correct that they never thought about. If you talk to them about their long-term care and their income and their gaps and their cliffs and their sure things and their maybes and their health status and their heart attack and their stroke and their healthy spouse and their unhealthy spouse, when you go in and make the diagnosis, they're going to agree because it's their numbers and not yours. You're not trying to pitch a product. You're trying to explain to them why you think the diagnosis that you're making is correct.
So
And once
you,
they agree, and they will, I'm sorry.
so you go ahead and meet back with them before the signing party is what I hear you say.
I'll have the whole conversation. If they buy it on their own, I'll have the whole go-to first interview before the signing ceremony. And they'll be so glad that you have it with them. They're going to go, Susan, when I draw the pyramid about unaware and aware, okay, and they were unaware, and then you showed them the demo, the free look, free trial, and they became aware, and then they started looking for solutions, and they decided that the free trial was the solution. And then you come back after they pick the free trial and say, I'm going to be a better advisor if I help you through this. If you want me to help, there's a couple of things that you might be aware of or might not be aware of. Can we talk for a few minutes? And they'll go, yeah. They've just spent $2,000, and then you show up for free. Uh, a highly qualified person that is willing to help them and guide them through the process, and they're going to love you for that. Because they're going to think it's something you didn't have to do. You did not have to make that phone call. And if you're only selling trust and not the investment side, you could have taken the money and run and not even help them. That's their problem. But
Correct.
instead you want the back end sale. I mean, that's the true reason you want the front end sale.
But you do the back end sale before you do the signing party? Or do you have them sign for a trust and then have them come back in for the back end sale?
The majority, we have them sign for the trust, and then I go into the back end sale. And
Oh,
sometimes it's in another interview.
yeah,
It just
that would make
depends.
sense. Celebrate
Yeah,
the party and the positive
right.
besides stressing them out that they still need to move money.
Right, right.
Okay,
So, and Susan, if you make the proper diagnosis, you'll get very little resistance. You know,
right.
if your client turns around to his spouse and says, "Yeah, we need to do this, but I want it to be a maybe," just don't say a word. Just let her or he react, because they will set them straight.
Yeah. And most of the
Because
time you're in person with this for you.
well, in my situation, I do it in person. I'm not a very good Zoomer. I just now learned how to increase the volume on my computer. So, you know, I'm just really, really good at the in-person back-end sale. And
Right, you are.
that's what works. You know, a couple years ago, people come in and say, you need to do this by Zoom. And you know, I didn't try it because I'm too set in my ways. You know, if you're already a good Zoom caller or a good Zoom talker, I still don't think you'll have the same closing ratio.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, it is a lot easier when you're working with finances, especially with seniors, because sometimes they're hard of hearing. It's really bad when their wife with dementia is translating for you because they can't hear you. It's
Right,
yeah.
right.
I like
And
meeting in person if we're moving money, but that's
and
just
you can go to the Zoom call after you've been doing business with them for 6 or 8 months.
right. Right, right.
Okay. But those of you who want to make your first sale on the Zoom, everybody who's talked to me, I am not seeing the same results as those who are doing face to face in person.
That
So,
answers
so,
my question.
get in your car and take a drive, get them to come into your office, meet them for a cup of coffee, buy their coffee, make them understand that you're there in order, to make the proper diagnosis. Don't pitch a product. Don't have a product in mind before you go in. Have finding the diagnosis on your mind when you're going in. The products will appear. And if you don't know what the products are, if you have good consultants like you and I do, uh, they'll introduce the products to us. I have learned the value of the One America product in the past couple of weeks. And because we've learned it, we've written 2 of them, and maybe 3. But I've never even entertained the concept of the One America products. But once I did, I started seeing that I must have missed so many sales, and not even known it. So learn your product, but if you make the proper diagnosis, go to your consultant, whoever it is, at whatever IMO is, and discuss it with them, and they'll help you pick the right product if they're worth their salt at all. Anything else, Susan?
No, thank you. That's awesome. Very helpful. I
Okay.
was just wondering about the um IT and the passcode, how you kind of handle that. And I love that you can both be online the same time making changes and just
Absolutely.
recalculate.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
it takes a long time to put in everybody's stepkids or ex-wives, and that
That that
takes
you know
time.
that's why I like to draw the family tree and get the names, and that's why I'm real. Sometimes I'll go ahead and do the paper application, and I'll key it in myself, or I'll have somebody here that's better at it key it in for me.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's exhausting. 2 hours later, you're still trying to think. I would have given up if it wasn't my own trust. It was like, are you kidding me? This is too time consuming.
Okay, but soon you'll come out of phase 1 and go into phase 2 and start training somebody to do that.
Yeah, very fast.
Okay,
I'm in phase
then
2. You
right
bet.
then you'll go into phase 3, which you'll be
Yeah,
separating the income producing activities from the non-income producing activities, and
exactly.
that'll generate the job descriptions.
Right.
And then after that, you'll go into being a full-fledged digital estate planner, and you'll probably uh, be bringing in agents that want to learn from what you know. And the ideal number, if you have 2 licensees, and you're spending your time training them, you're probably not going to see a big increase in income. It's when you have the 3rd one and the 4th one that you're going to start seeing it, because those people will gladly split their cases with you, because you will have the knowledge to help them close it. Now, and I said it earlier in the meeting, when the desire to learn appears, so will the teacher. When you've learned what you want, the teacher disappears, and you start looking for a new teacher, and somebody that can teach you something else. So if I'm good at what I do, I'm not needed after 6 or 7 months. But it doesn't hurt my feelings too bad, because I get to look at those people and go, wow, they're really doing well, and I like that. So I'll take other questions unless you have another one. Thank you for asking it.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, anybody else out there have a question for us? Lisa, do you see any questions in the chat room?
And nothing more in the chat, Randall.
Well, we must have done a good job. I hope so.
Answered everyone's questions already.
Okay.
Oh,
Susan,
I have another one. I'm sorry, Randall.
that's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I guess I'm just starting to feel the crunch because I'm hosting 4 workshops starting next Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday.
Are you
So-
using Jeff Mills?
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes.
Okay,
And
go
I
ahead.
already have quite a few people enrolled. The question I have is, when we're presenting, are you using a whiteboard to draw the family tree as the video or the PowerPoint? I
Well,
can't remember.
I show it on the PowerPoint, but I also draw it on a whiteboard here lately,
Do
because
both, okay.
yeah, because actually when you draw it on a whiteboard, it's entertaining for the people who are watching you do it.
Yeah, it should be. Since
Okay.
I can hardly, yeah,
Well, it's
I'm-
okay. All my drawings look like they've been done with an Etch sketch, and
that's
that
right.
I don't care. If I can look out there in the crowd and see them smiling, I'm making progress.
Yeah, we only have like an hour space,
That's all
so
you need. That's all you need.
that'll be pretty good.
Just keep watching your clock, and don't get caught going in directions that follow your agenda. Give
Okay,
everybody the agenda.
and is there a number on the back end that I should be watching again as far as your presentation? Do we have an actual presentation of you? Unlike the Randall
Yeah,
Baxter or the,
doing the webinar, go to lesson 16,
okay,
FTAP courses, and go to lesson 16.
About 35 minutes.
Yeah, and I don't think I've actually filmed myself doing the webinar. But my webinar is the exact same script as if I'm doing one-to-one. I do the same thing one-to-one as I do one-to-many.
so lesson 16,
Yeah. Yeah.
got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
done officially. Thank
Uh,
you, everyone.
Well, I'm glad you got what you wanted. Anybody else out there?
Carter had a question in the chat, Randall.
Mr. Nelson, what's up?
He asked, if someone asks you to email them information, what do you send them?
Well, I sent them information about the workshop. Tell them come on in. If you do the presentation right, that question won't come up. I promise you, it will not come up. If they say, send me some email, I'm going to think about it. Something went wrong in the presentation. And you know what? For every person that says that, you're going to get 2 or 3 that say, just remember, if you're doing workshops, there's a reason people come to the workshop. They've got something on their mind. They're not coming for entertainment. They're not coming because you're feeding them. They're not coming because they don't have a problem. They have a problem. They just, and they want to talk to somebody about it. They're going to decide if you're the right person or not. They have to know you, like you, trust you. That's the mission of the workshop. Does that answer your question, Carter?
Carter added to his question, and he said, before the presentation, if they ask you to email them something before the presentation.
Before the president, send them tell them to come to the workshop. Tell them if they want some information, send them this information. Write it down. I think you would benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan. And if you come have that conversation, you might learn something which you were not aware. You owe them nothing else. And you'd explain to them, I say, I've got an appointment here in a minute. The whole purpose of the workshop is to answer your questions unless you want a one-on-one appointment. Would you like to make an appointment? And if they don't want to make an appointment, they're not they're a suspect, but they're not a prospect. Take them off your list. And if you listen to me, you don't need them. You want to talk to the people that have a problem, that think they're going to benefit from a conversation with you about their current estate plan and are hoping that they will learn something in which they are not aware. Anybody else is not qualified. I hope that makes sense, Carter, because that's what you're going to learn here in August. You don't need those people. You don't need them at all.
So Randy,
Yes, sir.
I was at the dog park the other day talking to this young guy, and his mother and his grandmother are in desperate need of help.
What's that mean, Carter?
Well, this is what I said. I said, he's asked me to email some information so he could show them to get them to call me.
No.
Okay.
Send him an invitation. Send him an invitation to the workshop.
Okay.
You don't owe somebody an hour's worth of free time. If he just says, "Oh, I just want you to help me, but I don't want to do it your way. I want you to do it my way." When people tell me they want to do it their way and not my way,
I was trying to get an individual appointment set up with his parents.
okay.
Randy, may I toss something out?
Yes, go ahead.
Basically what Carter's trying to do is a second party referral. And this is actually, my wife, she does a lot of volunteering, and she actually had that situation. She brought someone to me that said, "Hey, they're in need." And what I did was I went out on my Family Estate Docs website, and I sent them the 6-question, do you need a will or a trust, where they total their points. And then I sent along one of the videos from the Family Estate Docs. And the person watched the video, filled out the 6 questions, emailed me back, and I said, "What was your score?" He gave me the score, and then I used exactly what you said was, is that, it's like, you will benefit from me with a conversation about your current estate plan. You may have some things you're not aware of in your current estate plan. When would you like to meet? And, got the appointment. So
And Tony, the first sale, the very first sale in the process is the conversion of the suspect to the prospect.
Right. But that's something, Carter, because he's in a second party situation, that is a possible way of doing it.
Okay. All right. Just be sure, Carter, that you don't go out of your way and look like you need an appointment. You don't need one.
No. I wasn't. I was just, I wasn't pushing for the appointment, but I wanted to be able to send them some information to get them to call me back to set
Okay.
an appointment.
Okay. So when they come up and say that to you, all they are is a suspect.
Right.
Okay. It's your job to convert them to a prospect. So what's the definition of a prospect? It's someone who agrees to talk with you on a favorable basis. That's it. So if they're a suspect, that's all you have to do is get them to agree to talk to you on a favorable basis. And that guy in the dog park, don't let him take control of the conversation. You control the process. And if you want to help them, help them. It's okay. I help people all the time. But I don't let them take up time that I don't have. So
Yeah, I was
they have to work
fully
with me on my terms.
fully intent on setting up. I told them I would need to come out and do an in-person conversation with them to assess their needs.
Okay, you skip the first step. You need to say,
Okay.
"I think you would benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan." Hush your mouth and let them say yes or no. If they
Okay.
say yes, make an appointment. If they say no, salute them and walk off.
Okay.
Because they weren't serious. But the things that I tell people to say work. And that's why I try to teach people to say it. If you don't say it the way I teach it, you decrease your chances of having it work. So, um, don't do that.
Okay.
Okay. Do, and it's just, it should get just a habit. If you can't, if the initial habit, if somebody's talking to you about it and asking you what you do, you say, well, the best way for me to tell you about what I do is for me to show you, I think you might benefit from a conversation about your current estate plan, not the one I would want to say, but let's look at your current estate plan and see if it works. And if we have that conversation, you might learn something that you were not aware of. Those are the
Okay.
magic words. Those are the magic words that lead to $20,000 and $30,000 a month incomes. And
Yeah,
3 out
I
of
guess
10,
I guess
3
I'm
out of
having
10 are going to do back in. I'm sorry.
I'm jumping ahead of myself.
Well,
Yeah.
stop it.
Yes, sir.
That's that's my 2 words of advice. That's the 2 words of advice to everybody's listening, doesn't have the income they want and want it using this system. Stop doing it your way. Stop innovating. Just emulate. Please, just emulate. You can innovate all you want once you get past the income goals that you want. But if you tell me that your income goal is $10,000 and ask me to help, I'm going to say, okay, do it. Let me show you what to do. If you go do it differently, it hurts my feelings. That's all I got to say is this works. And then if you don't do it, you either don't believe me or don't really want to do it. What I tell people to do works. WIRKS. It works. Anything else?
Nothing more in the chat.
Well, I've had a busy day. I don't know about you all. So I'm thinking about going home. I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds if you have another question. Now, next week, I'm going to be in Bloomington, Minnesota, doing a boot camp on Tuesday. So there won't be a class next Tuesday at 3 o'clock, but Lisa and Wynn and I are going to do Zooms on every topic that we have. And if you'd like to see a copy of what the topics are, Lisa's going to send them all to you so you can Zoom in at those times on Central Standard Time and listen to all the different topics that we're going to be teaching. We're going to be concentrating on page 2 of the confidential. That's where the income is. That's where the front end sale is. That's where the back end sale is originated. And we're going to be talking product, and we're going to be talking all that kind of stuff. So, and the topic will change every hour, so you can pick the hour that you think you need help on. So, no 3 o'clock next week, but there will be an 8 o'clock Central and an 8:30 Central and a 9:30 Central and a 10:30 Central, and then the little lunch break, and then a 12:45 Central and a 1:45 Central and a 2:30 break, and then a 2:45 to 4 o'clock Central Time topic. And they're all going to be different topics led by different people that you would probably benefit if you tuned in. And we'll send you the schedule. Anything else? All right. I hope everybody has a great week. See you later.
Thanks
Bye.
so much. Bye.
Bye.